So I was scrolling through LinkedIn um, the other day, and I saw this one post where somebody left the office at 4:57 when their scheduled hours are 9 to 5. Okay. And because they left at 4:57, their manager or their HR person, I can't remember which one, sent them some sort of an email saying, hey, you left 3 minutes early, so you need to stay until 5:03 for tomorrow. And that got a lot of negative backlash. Like the person screenshotted it. They posted it on LinkedIn. I think it was originally from Instagram or something like that. But a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, this is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. How could they care so much about 3 minutes?" And at face value, I kind of agree with those people, right? I think that asking someone to stay until 5:03 is kind of pointless. It's I don't know. I definitely think it's a little too pedantic if you ask me. But what I will say is that I think the spirit of what the manager or the HR person was saying is actually correct. I think that when you say that you're working from 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, it really doesn't matter. You need to see it through, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 minute, it doesn't matter if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's a very slippery slope. So if someone, for instance, comes in 2 minutes late every single day, it may not seem like a big deal, but it's not going to take too long until now the norm in the office is, oh, well, it's 5 minutes now. It's fine if I come in 5 minutes late. Oh, it's fine if I come in 10 minutes late. Oh, 15 minutes, it's not a big deal. Like this stuff happens slowly, but it happens quicker than you think, if that makes sense. And that's actually a big part of why I've committed to posting on YouTube every single day, for at least 50 days, because I know that if I miss just one day, that quite frankly, I'm going to lose all progress with this, and it's going to bleed into other aspects of my life. Having a structure and sticking with it is way more important than people think, right? So even if it's a weekend, even if it's in the evenings, um, if you committed to doing something at least once per day, you should do it. And if you've committed to going into, the office, if the expectation is, hey, I'm going to be there at 9 a.m., 9:01 is not acceptable, right? And I know that seems a bit harsh, but it's true. At the end of the day, like you should be on time. And it's not even just for the company, right? I know that there's kind of the saying of like, oh, well, people are worshiping their companies, they're going the extra mile when they shouldn't or when they don't have to. But it's actually more for the individual, if that makes sense, right? Like if you go into, like, let's say for example your work starts at 9, and let's say that you're thinking about it, you're like, okay, when should I go into the office? If you get in 15 minutes early, you have a head start, right? Like you have a head start, not compared to other people, right? It's not about comparing yourself, but for yourself, right? Like you're giving yourself 15 minutes to go over your emails. You're giving yourself 15 minutes to get your coffee ready. Like you are ready to go when the clock hits 9. And when you stay until 5 p.m. and you don't start packing up until 5, you're sending a message to yourself that what you're doing is important, right? Like it's you're not in a rush to go home because it's like, hey, I've made it clear to myself and I've made it clear to my company, my employer, whatever the context is. It doesn't even have to be a job, but I've made a commitment from these hours I'm going to be working. And at 4:59 I'm going to be working. And at 5 p.m. that's when I'm going to start packing up. And that's really the only way to go about it because like I said, And there's another component to this too, which I'll kind of interrupt that thought and bring this up. Let's say you work in an environment where you can come in whenever you want, you can leave whenever you want. It doesn't matter, no one really cares, and there's just kind of this aloof attitude around, tardiness and you know, being places on time and showing up to meetings on time and whatever. You may not realize it, but your company's going to fail, right? It's going to fail because you're not going to get any work done. And that's really something that a lot of people don't want to hear, but it's true. If you don't have any structure, you're not going to get any work done. And when you don't get any work done, well, now the company fails. So even if you're not going to get fired, like everyone's going to get fired, right? It might take a year, it might take 2 years, but people forget this. If a company fails, everyone's fired, right? The CEO, the accountant, the the board members, like everybody's out of business. Everyone's out of a job. Everyone's losing their investment. So you really have to you really have to treat it like you're on a boat and that boat can sink, right? Like that boat could sink to the bottom of the ocean. Now, I'm not saying that you need to dedicate every moment of your life to your job. That's not what I'm saying. All what I'm saying is that if you leave 3 minutes early, if you show up to work 2 minutes late, it doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment, but it's going to pave the way for the structure to fall apart. And that's why I actually agree with the manager. I actually agree with the HR person. And I know it sounds crazy. I know that it sounds like I'm a bootlicker and that I'm sucking up to corporations, I'm sucking up to businesses. I'm not, right? I'm very much somebody who believes in workers' rights. I believe in boundaries and respect for everybody, just to be clear. I saw another, just to be totally upfront about this, I saw another post where there was this manager who sent their employee an email saying, hey, I noticed during your lunch break that you finished eating in 10 minutes and then you were sitting on your phone for 20 minutes. You should have been back at your desk after you finished eating. So, in other words, instead of having a 30-minute lunch break, you should have a 10-minute lunch break because you finished eating after 10 minutes. I think that's total garbage. Like, you should not be treating employees that way, just to be very clear. If someone has a lunch break, give them half an hour or an hour, whatever the allotted time is. Just, it's their right to have a break, just to be very clear. But this is more about, you know, employee boundaries and then manager boundaries. And if you're committing to working from 9 to 5, you're working from 9 to 5, right? And that's really it. I'm not even the type of person to always side with the manager, but I'm saying that this is an unpopular opinion for that reason, right? It's unpopular because on the surface it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is. And so really the takeaway from this, if anybody's watching, is whatever you're doing, just see it through. That's all what I'm saying. Again, if you're working for 8 hours a day, work for 8 hours. Don't work for 7 hours and 57 minutes. If you're looking to post on YouTube every day, make sure it's every day and don't make it a habit of like, oh, if I miss one day, it's fine. It's not fine, right? It's not fine because it's a slippery slope. You're eventually going to fall out of that habit. If you're on a diet, stick to it. If you're going to exercise, stick to that routine. So, anyways, that's what I have to say for today.